Today's theme is We Are Family. The Bible reading is from Zechariah chapter 7 verses 8 to 12. And the word of the Lord came again to Zechariah. This is what the Lord Almighty said. Administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the foreigner or the poor. Do not plot evil against each other. But they refused to pay attention. Stubbornly they turned their backs and covered their ears. They made their hearts as hard as flint and would not listen to the law or to the words that the Lord Almighty had sent by his Spirit through the earlier prophets. Words from Tristan Hughes. As I sat in my local doctor's surgery recently, a young boy of Middle Eastern origin started staring at me. I smiled at him and said, "Hello," but he simply kept on staring with inquisitive eyes. Noticing this one-sided conversation, his father nodded his head towards me, smiled, and said in a strong accent to his resident child, "Come on now, say hello to your uncle." A smile broke across the hitherto unresponsive little face, and a big cheerful hello followed. At first I was rather taken aback to be called an uncle by a complete stranger. Then I remembered the link between the view of some Middle Eastern cultures that all people are family and they're called to care and compassion. After all, the Arabic word for compassion is Rahmah, and it is found frequently in the Quran. This is similar to the Hebrew word for compassion that our passage uses today, Rakamim, and both the Arabic and Hebrew are related to the words for womb. In other words, both the Muslim scriptures and the Old Testament indicate that our compassion for those around us should reflect family bonds. So compassion is about treating others as if they were our own flesh and blood, as if they had shared the same womb with us. When I was laid up in bed with a back problem recently, I decided to reread the Bible from cover to cover. What struck me most about the Old Testament was the many reminders to the Israelites that, as they were foreigners in Egypt, they must show kindness, mercy, and generosity to foreigners in their own land, as we see in our passage today. Our faith challenges us to expand our circle of compassion to all, not merely to those who are like us or those who happen to be born in the same country. In recent years, there have been discussions in the press, Parliament and the pulpit about those coming to Europe and those attempting to cross the Channel to make a home in our green and pleasant land. Some commentators and politicians have rightly demanded that we see beyond the labels of people as refugees, immigrants or migrants. We are challenged to see them simply as people, just like you and me. As Christians, we are called to go further than this. This is the profound depth of the challenge of compassion, to see others not merely as people, not even merely as friends, but as brothers and sisters. The French Cistercian monk Charles de Foucauld referred to this concept as the universal brotherhood. This is a huge challenge to our lives and our politics. But when we do view others as our family, labels will peel away. The Jesuit priest Anthony de Mello used an analogy of a menu in a restaurant. However much we might salivate while considering the list of food, Not one of us will decide to eat the actual menu. It is the food that we want to eat, not the words about the food. As far as possible, we must attempt to experience people themselves rather than experience the labels that we or other people put on them. As soon as we slap a label like immigrant or refugee on a person, our understanding of that individual can become distorted. We start to see the label rather than the person, and every label, of course, has undertones of approval or disapproval. My wife is German. When I look at her lovingly over a romantic meal, I do not stare into her eyes and say, "Darling, you are such a beautiful immigrant." Likewise, in my own church, we have individuals from across the globe who are active in the congregation. None of us see them as immigrants. Once we know a person, they cease to be a label and they simply become family. In light of our faith, then, it makes perfect sense that as I was called uncle by that little boy in the doctor's surgery, for Christians there is no opt-out clause in the Bible's invitation to view others as family. Instead, it lies at the very heart of our faith and is fundamental to our radical call to live out the compassionate kingdom. To affirm Jesus as the Messiah is to say that we will act as he acted, to treat others as our brothers and sisters, whoever they are, whatever their background, and however different they might be from us. The reflection. Find a map of the world, in an atlas, on a globe, or on the internet. Take time to slowly and prayerfully look at the countries and either give thanks and pray for God's blessing on people you know or have known from the countries that stand out to you, or pray for God's blessing on the people from the countries that you know have been through difficulties in recent years: war, civil war, terrorism, or natural disasters.